Hi, I'm Maria, and thank you for coming over to Adventures of a Startup Founder. And in this series, I will be talking about my startup plus the two school communities that I am growing um, on the Skool platform. And for now, I'll be doing daily or as close to daily updates as I can to explain how that's going in the process. Um, you know, it's turned out to be a little bit much, but it's challenging. I've got my biotech startup, right? And I decided to start two communities on, well, really one community on Skool. It's called Startup Mentor because I believe, I feel like I have some skill sets around fundraising, and I feel like I could be a fundraising coach and help others get as far as I've gotten. I've learned a lot of lessons, and I feel like I could really help others. So I started it for that reason. Um, and I'm happy that I made that choice. I also realized that even though I was a founder, I felt very much like I was out in a void and I didn't have other founders around me. And you become the average of the five people you spend the most of your time with. And if I'm a scientist and I'm a startup founder, and the five people around me are neither one of those things, even though they're beautiful, fantastic people, that puts me at a deficit. Because then when I have challenges or concerns, I don't have other people to talk to. So it was in the end of 2024 where that realization really hit me. And then I saw Alex Hormozi and Kirby and Sam Ovens starting this whole Skool Community platform, and I said, okay, I was like, if Alex Hormozi is involved, then I really believe his videos, and I really appreciate all the education that he just puts out there. All that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a chance. May not be the perfect time to do this, but I feel like I need to do this for a myriad of reasons. So I just jumped in and I started the Startup Mentor. And so I've brought on a number of beautiful founders. Right now, I think the group's at 53 members. And then just as kind of not a joke, but just kind of out of a fluke, I asked a question on one of the community boards, like, hey, is anyone a scientist? How do you get your science fix? And I had 25 people respond like this, and they were like, yes, 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 yes. And I was like, uh-oh. I was like, that's an opportunity there. And again, it's a situation where I'm a scientist and I don't have a lot of sciencey friends to talk about and to have those big discussions with, right? Um, so I said, okay, I'm just going to start it and see what happens. And like right now we're at 61 people, and I just started inviting people, off my LinkedIn and everything. And so I mean, it's really turned out to be wonderful and beautiful. Um, Now, upkeep of those two communities, along with my um, startup responsibilities, has been challenging, right? And Sam Ovens has this fantastic video from like 5 years ago where he's talking about, you know, don't take on too many activities because then you're spending your time, like if you have 8 hours and you have eight responsibilities, you're doing an hour per responsibility. This isn't exactly the way he described it, but this is the gist, right? And he's like, then you're spending an hour on each thing, as opposed to if you have one thing, you're going to spend 8 hours on that one thing, right? And I've kind of put myself in the situation now where I got a bunch of different things going on, and each thing is only getting an hour as opposed to one thing getting 8 hours. So, but it's hard because I'm not, like, there's nothing that I want to give up. So I have to really think through that. But I think the approach that I'm going to take, at least for now, is, because right now everything is highly inefficient, right? But it's getting better. Like, I think when you start putting systems in place, then it makes things a lot better. Like, Alex Hormozi talks about do 300, the rule of 300. So every day you should do 100 hours of content. I'm sorry, 100 minutes of content, 100 minutes of community interactions and such, and then 100 minutes of outreach, right? So that's right there, that's 5 hours of activity. And I've decided that I'm spending that time, like, I'm not doing 300 for one community and 300 for another. I'm doing 300 in theory for both communities, right? Because they cross-pollinate a little bit, right? So that's fine. And the thing that's really, really helped me is I've started putting in systems. And by systems, I mean that I have a template of a posting schedule that I'm trying to do for each of the two groups. So they each have, like, it's going to be 3 posts in here, 3 posts a week here, 3 posts a week there. Now I still have to come up with the content, or I still have to find and come up with the content and film things and such. So there's that. But already the fact that I've laid out, like, it's going to be 3 of this and 3 of that. I have it on a Google Doc, and I have some information in Notion. So, like, when I'm walking around or when I'm in between things and an idea pops in my head, I immediately put it into the corresponding location, right? Or if I find a cool YouTube video, I'm like, oh, this is perfect for this group, or oh, this is perfect for that group. And then so I'm preloading these resources as I'm finding them so that it gives me a little bit of breathing room. And it allows me to work when, it allows me to work in waves of motivation. So when I have a little, a wave of motivation, I can, like, I can do, 3x, 4x more than if I'm trying to work when I'm not in motivation, right? So when the wave of motivation hits and I find this, and this resource, immediately I put it into those template spots. I have one thing where, like, for Science Nerd, I have a couple of weeks of topics that I am pretty interested in, and then already have some resources in each of those spots. Is not everything is fully complete, but I have some resources to pull from. And then same thing, like with Science or with Startup Mentor, like, I'm trying to do Motivation Monday, so that's just an inspirational video. I think I'm going to do something like Skill of the Week, and I'm going to have some balance between a skill that you need for startups and then a skill that you need for business in general. And the reason I'm saying that is because I notice that half the group they're straight up, there's a bug, I'm sorry, and I don't know how to edit. Half the group is legitimate or pure startup founders, and then the other half the group is, like, they're business oriented Like for instance, one guy is building a laundromat, and I'm like, oh wow, that's really cool. But I don't know anything about laundromats, but I do know about productivity, and I do know about um, um, how to overcome various different types of struggles as you're building your business. So I do have some value that I can bring to him. I can't tell him about how to structure his business, but I can tell him other useful businessy things. So I'm going to have like a little bit of each of those things in the group. And the fact that I've come up with a plan, it's going to be 1, 2, and 3 every week. I'm going to try to hit these 3 things. Then I can just lay it out on a sheet, weeks 1 through 6, and then category 1, 2, and 3, category 1, 2, and 3. So the template is built. And then when I have those shots of inspiration, I can start filling them in, right? And then the week of or the weekend before I have to upload, I can just really think through it and decide really, is this the week that I really want to focus on, or should I change to a different week? Or, I'm just choosing a block of information versus trying to pool all the information in the moment, right? And then that also, that's really helped me. So I have that going. Now, to go on to talk about my startup and how that pertains to that, the other thing that I have to take into account is I have to ask the question, what is the most important thing and how do I stack that? So for me, every single day of the week, it's the startup. All these 2 other things are supportive activities, but every day, a single day of the week is the startup, and I got to remember that. So I have to start when I'm stacking my week of activities and responsibilities. I have to ask the question, what is the most important thing or what's required for the startup that day, right? So there were some documents and some reports that needed to be done. And so like the first 6, 7, 8 hours of the last couple of days were spent just preparing those documents and getting those things ready. Annual reports and bookkeeping and stuff like this, and it's not my forte, but who else is going to do it? Oh, oh, yeah, that's me. It's got to be me. It's got to be me. So, and I, I had to put the shiny activities, which are school activities, second, right? Or after. So I have to prioritize and protect my time and to do those activities first, right? And then now, even though it's late, it's 10:42 at night, I just spent the last couple hours, uploading things for my 2 school communities, and now I'm making this video to upload, and I really need to do some outreach. But you see, this is where it gets tricky. This is where it gets tricky. Yeah. So I think the more systems I put in place, the better this will be. But, and of course, just like everyone else, I have responsibilities outside of these activities as well. So I have to really think about how to stack everything. But I do know first things first. Once you determine your value system of what's most important, what's first, what's second, and what's third, then it's easier to make decisions. It's like, for instance, my value system right now, right now because it could change. But right now, I mean, I don't see it foresee it changing, but I'm just saying right now is the startup and the responsibilities that correspond with that. And then startup mentor, because from there stems my opportunities to coach, right? And then lastly, it has to be science nerd, right? And it's so funny because science nerd, maybe because it has the least amount of pressure, seems to be the easiest for me to find the information and to get it ready and whatever. And I just like chatting about the science, and so, but I can't let it become I can't let it become a distraction, right? So it's like I have to temper myself and I have to pace myself. And I just have to make sure first things first and first thing gets done first. Like, so, I mean, I was so proud of myself when I got all that paperwork done for the startup. Oh my gosh. You know, I just can't, I can't. And there was so much stuff that I wasn't sure of. I didn't know how to do. I had to ask ChatGPT a lot of questions, and I looked at templates, and I was like, okay, what parts of this template can I do, and what things that I'm stumbling over? And so I did the parts that okay, I know how to do these. So I did those, and then as I was doing those things, then I realized, like, okay, these are the things I'm unsure of, but somehow that information kind of, as I was working on the stuff that I knew to do, it kind of gave me insight on the things that I didn't know how to do. Okay, anyway. So, I mean, that's what it's like. I mean, you know, how to get 2 communities and your startup off the ground. And because it has to be the startup, and the 2 communities have to take a second seat as if it were hobbies, and people have hobbies. So right now, that is how I have to treat it, I think. So anyway, hopefully there's some value in this video. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, and join my video. I mean, join my groups. I'll put some links in the thing. I would love to see you in the group because it's cool. There's some, yeah. Okay, bye. Thanks.